People of the internet! Welcome back to another video. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. Got news here, fresh off the press, about popular artist Drake, who is now suing Universal Music Group, of course, which is a record label, and Spotify. You guys are not aware, it's been an ongoing beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. A lot of back and forth over the past few months, this, that, and the other. But as of late, of course, this news comes from, I'm on Twitter, but Variety. I'll share my screen in a bit. Basically, long short of the story, Kendrick Lamar had a famous song within this beef, of course, that came out, Not Like Us. Of course, you guys probably heard of it. Went viral, culturally, everywhere, went crazy. Drake is now suing, saying that Kendrick Lamar used malicious acts in order to inflate the popularity of the song, things of that nature, and he's trying to take this case to court, or he's trying to find a means to take this to court. Share my screen. Article reads, Drake sues UMG and Spotify over Lamar's track popularity. The rapper Drake has filed a lawsuit against Universal Music Group and Spotify, alleging they artificially boosted the popularity of Kendrick Lamar's track, Not Like Us. Drake claims the companies used bots, payola, and other methods to inflate streaming numbers. UMG has responded, denying the allegations and describing them as offensive and untrue. Universal Music has responded to Drake's claim that it conspired to artificially inflate the streaming numbers of Kendrick Lamar's Drake diss, Not Like Us. Variety also spoke on this matter in which they said that the suggestion that UMG would do anything to undermine any of its artists is offensive and untrue. We employ the highest ethical practices in our marketing and promotional campaigns. No amount of contrived and absurd legal arguments in this pre-action submission can mask the fact that fans choose the music they want to hear. That's the article. That's the statement that was listed from Universal Music Group. Of course, Universal Music Group is the label that Drake is signed to. So in a nutshell, I think I came across another video as well too on Twitter, which I'll play here in a second, where another man kind of breaks down the situation a little bit better as well too, and I thought it was a pretty interesting take. Let me see here. But basically, in a nutshell, as I'm looking this up, man, bots. What are bots? If you guys are not aware, of course, there's streaming farms. Bot farms is what it's called. So all your favorite live streamers, your favorite artists, when they, put out these numbers of how many streams, this, that, and the other, there's technology behind the scenes that one could use in order to hyperinflate their numbers. So let's say, for example, you put out a music video on YouTube, or you put out a song on, Apple Music or Spotify. There's ways and systems behind the scenes that one could use to mass inflate those numbers. So 30 million views, 40 million views, this and that, the other crazy numbers, of course, to give the perception that a song is maybe more popular than it is, or to, convince people to have more sales. So people will use tactics like that to be able to go to record labels and other companies to be able to say things like, hey guys, look how many views I was able to get. You guys should sign me. Or look how many streams I got on this video or on this song. I want more money on my contract, things of that nature. So there's shady business, of course, that people kind of use, is the reason why they would use things like bot farms and, little technology advances or whatever the case is to inflate those numbers. There's a video that I saw somewhere on Twitter that I'll pull up here in a second if I can come across it. Gentleman kind of breaks it down a little bit better. Let's take a look here.
I've been around a lot of rappers and legal drama, and this is the best one I've ever seen when you understand it. So first, this isn't a lawsuit. It's a petition where Drake is asking the court to require Universal Music Group to give him evidence that he needs to bring a RICO lawsuit and a lawsuit alleging illegal business practices. What he says is, I don't know who the other people were involved with Universal, but under the law, Universal has to tell me who they are so I can sue them for the following: civil RICO, deceptive business practices. What these people did is they used illegal bots to make it seem like Not Like Us was a lot more popular than it actually was. They cite to an Academics interview where Academics is on stream talking to some dude, and the dude says, I got paid $5,000 and promised a % of Not Like Us in exchange for delivering 30 million fake bot streams when Not Like Us first launched, so that it would seem more popular than it was and the algorithms would bump it up everywhere. What's really interesting about Drake's claim is that if you watch the Academics interview, Academics questions the veracity, the truth of this guy, saying, hey bro, are you sure? Like, somebody promised you points for bot streams? There's producers and engineers and people who feature on songs who don't get a percent of the song. And somebody promised you, academics questioned this guy's story. Anyway, Drake's lawyers saw it fit for a filing in a New York state court. And they say, look, this is some evidence of the bots. Then they say that Universal typically takes a cut in order for somebody like Spotify to put a Universal song on Spotify. And that in this case, Universal wanted Not Like Us to be more popular. And so they agreed to take a lower cut, and they gave it to Spotify on the low, cheaper. They paid radio for plays that, hey, Universal Music Group, in order to make Not Like Us artificially popular, paid people in radio. Apparently, they claim that all of this is illegal and that it caused damage to Drake by reducing his popularity, getting him less streams. They argue that streaming is a zero-sum game. Every time Not Like Us got streamed, it resulted in Drake not getting a stream, because you necessarily can't get a stream if everybody's listening to something else on that day. And they have all these other wild allegations in there, including this idea that Universal is firing people who have loyalty to Drake and preferring people who have loyalty to Kendrick. They also claim that Universal told Drake that, hey, none of this is our problem. Your problems are with Mr. Lamar. You should sue. Kendrick Lamar's last name, by the way, is Duckworth. They say your problems are with Mr. Duckworth. You should sue Mr. Duckworth. And if you sue Mr. Duckworth, maybe we'll jump in there with you. Because what do I think is happening here? First off, my mind is spinning, because I can't imagine that you're relying on a source that academics questioned. And that, but here's what I think is happening. I think you might have a situation where Drake realizes that Not Like Us and everything around that song and this battle has forever tarnished his earning ability and his ability to make that money. This is what I think is so significantly reduced that he's got to do everything he possibly can to get it back, even if that means filing these claims where you're out here. I would never file a claim like this if I were him, unless I guess there was that much money on the line. Because from a PR perspective, my gosh, what do we think, people? Does this play well, or does this play poorly for the boy?
Very well said. So a lot of things into that. So basically, of course, as you guys heard, basically just reiterating what he said, was basically what I was saying earlier. That's the whole situation. Of course, you have Drake on one side, you have Kendrick Lamar on another side. Of course, two mega superstars within this hip hop industry. But there's a lot of factors that kind of go into play. Now, when I originally heard this news, a lot like a lot of other people as well too, we all thought that maybe it was a crybaby move, that maybe Drake was being a sore loser. That couldn't handle the fact that, Kendrick Lamar's song took off within this beat. Of course, within this beef, of course, you guys know they were going back and forth. Drake was putting out a song, Kendrick would put out a song, Drake would put out a song, Kendrick would put out a song, this, that, and the other. Kendrick has a song that does extremely well and has a huge cultural impact, which we can't deny. But Drake is basically saying that, hey, the method that was used to make that song as popular as it seemed was used inorganically. So as I'm thinking through this, of course, I look at this as a situation as, I think it's bigger than the whole beef now. It's like, this is beyond just the back and forth and beef. And I don't think it makes Drake look like a crybaby. I think Drake is stepping into territory that some would argue Michael Jackson and Prince and a lot of these other artists have tried to take on when they call out these industries, these music industries, these labels, these executives for shady business practices. Of course, you heard it there. That's basically what Drake is. So just to understand, of course, Drake is not suing yet. He's trying to gather resources and, testimonies and things of that nature, sources from other people to be able to build a case to say, hey, this is what I think is going on. It's causing me a loss of money. It's causing this, that, and the other. The record labels are using shady business practices to inflate numbers for artists and this, that, and the other. So it's a lot bigger than the beef between just Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I will say this though, to be fair, from what I loosely know about the music industry, I do agree that every artist does this. And I would even argue that Drake has maybe done this as well too. I think every artist that you can maybe think of, every popular mainstream artist, even down to their followers sometimes on social media, is inflated. We all know that. There's bot accounts, there's fake accounts. Their following numbers are not as large. Their streaming numbers are not necessarily as large, but people play into that again because it's a business. So, of course, if you're a popular artist or you are a label that has signed an artist and you want to be able to sell out tickets, you want to be able to sell out albums, then yeah, you're going to inflate those numbers to make it seem like this artist is maybe bigger than what they actually are, whether that be in popularity, whether that be in sales, this, that, and the other. So I would argue that maybe even Drake's sometime within his career, maybe even used the same tactic, which I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I think it's a little bit different now in this situation is because it's kind of coming to light. And this is something that if he can prove even just a little bit of this, of course, some of the accusations, of course, as you heard there, there was a list of things that he's trying to prove. And if he could even prove half of this to be true, then it kind of flips the industry on its head. Of course, as you guys saw in that other article that I had pulled up, Universal Music Group already denied the claim, saying, "Oh no, we would never do such a thing." And of course, I would expect them to say that, right? That's exactly what they would say. But it's very interesting, man. So like my whole take on this whole thing, I do believe that the industry is shady. The music industry is shady. I think Hollywood is shady. I think anything that involves large sums of money and fame and popularity and business, entities and business interests. People have interest in whether it be musicians, artists, producers, this and the other. We know it to be shady. This is not the first story that we've heard of shady things happening with the industry. It even comes down to the Grammys and how people win awards and this and the other. It seems like a whole bunch of favorites, just like corporate America. A lot of favoritism, a lot of, who knows who does what, a lot of money under the table, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 things of that nature. So these are all things that are not necessarily shocking. But in my personal opinion, I'm actually, outside of the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, again, I'm a fan of both of these guys, man. I have been for some time. But I think Drake is stepping into territory that's larger than the beef. And I'm actually rooting for him. I think I even tweeted that as well. I'm rooting for Aubrey. Of course, Aubrey being Drake's real name. I'm rooting for Aubrey because, again, he's standing up to something that needs to be addressed. Let's just keep it real, man. It's just like, again, a lot of these music artists, how they're able to sell out these tickets and get these shows and these streaming numbers, it's arguably not real. Even out to these live streamers sometimes, man. Even within the live streaming community, I don't know if you guys are aware as well, even the live streamers. So I'm not going to call any specific names, but the people in the realm of, the Kai Cenats and the Aiden Rosses, and there's a few big name live streamers that have come out and admitted that yes, they've used bot farms. Again, bot farms are just inflated numbers. They're fake accounts. They're fake little streams to make your numbers go up. So in reality, let's say for example you're a live streamer, whatever the case is, and you got on stream, and technically let's say you would have had 1,000 live streamers, right? 1,000 viewers, I guess you could say, that are watching your stream. There's technology that you could use to implement within your stream, within the background, to inflate those numbers to now have 10,000 people watching your stream, 30,000 people watching your stream. And again, it kind of just feeds into that. So now if you're somebody who's, from the outside looking in, if you're a consumer of these things and you're thinking, oh man, there's 30,000 people watching this stream, I need to get on the stream as well too. It kind of taps into people's FOMO, I like to say, fear of missing out. So again, if you're, if you're watching a music video, let's say of a favorite artist, and you see that it's at 1 million views and you haven't seen it yet, you're more likely to click that video because this is like, damn, in your mind, damn, 1 million people have watched this video. I haven't seen it yet. Let me go ahead and click play. So I think all these bot farms and streaming, it works. It's multifaceted. It plays on people's FOMO. It makes people's, it spikes people's numbers so they have more incentive to go back to these labels and say, oh, I want to raise in my advance, or I want to raise in my deal because look how many numbers I got. Look how many people streamed my song. Look how many people watched my music video, things of that nature. So yeah, it's no secret that artists do use these methods to be able to inflate their numbers, to make it seem bigger than what they are so they can negotiate for a lot more within their deals as well too. So I don't necessarily, I originally thought it was a crybaby move. Like I thought he was just being a sore loser. Like, oh man, Not Like Us is not that good of a song. He used streams. But now that I kind of understand a little bit more of what's going on, yeah, he's and someone to call it selfishly, maybe for his own gain, but I think it will be something that could, again, flip the industry on its head to be able to say, hey, man, these labels and these artists are using shady business practices to inflate their numbers and deceive these labels, deceive the public, deceive their fans, to make these artists seem bigger than what they actually are. So me personally, man, I'm gonna be a fan for that. I'm rooting for Drake in that regard. It's sad that it had to come down to this, back and forth and beefs, whatever the case, to get to this point. But I do just want authenticity. I think that's what I'm a fan of. I think I'm a fan of Drake fighting for authenticity. Like if you're such a big artist, right? Have organic numbers, have organic streams. And till this day, I think even within the industry, we still don't know what consists of a stream. You know, there's so many. If you guys really want to go down that rabbit hole, what consists of a stream? Even on Netflix, people don't know what constitutes a stream or a view, or like they don't know how to monetize it just yet. And it's something that is very like secretive. Like, hey, what constitutes a stream? Because again, you always hear stories of artists being underpaid. Artists, you know, whatever the case is, like, you know, in terms of one stream, you always hear stories of like one stream, or I guess one listen equals like a penny. They don't really get paid off these streams. So it's like till this day, there's a lot of back and forth within the industry that I hear a lot of the times as artists is wondering like what constitutes a stream? How do we monetize a stream? How many views on a video equals X amount of dollars? This, that, and the other. These are some of the things that are gray areas within the industry. And Drake seems to be an artist that is taking a stand to kind of bring this to the forefront. Again, I would maybe argue that he's maybe used some of these things in his career at one point as well too, but I think now is a point where it's maybe getting out of control. But those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. What do you make of all of this, man? Does this concern you at all? A lot of the times, I'm trying to, again, diversify my palette on some of the things that I talk about. Again, these things do interest me. I don't know how this resonates with your personal life and the things that you got going on. Maybe this is all irrelevant information to you. But these things do kind of interest me. Again, I'm all for people sticking it to the man. Not necessarily sticking it to the man, but standing up for yourself, man. Like, no, man, this is shady. This is not right. Let's just be authentic. Let's just be real. You know, I'm for that. I'm supporting that. Again, I'm not going to sit here and pick sides of Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I'm not going back and forth with all of that. I'm a fan of both of them. I wish this whole beef wasn't even happening to begin with, but we're here now. You know, we're here now. So I'm rooting for Drake in his stance on trying to get some clarity out of these record labels, out of these executives, out of all this favoritism that's happening within the industry. I'm rooting for him on that regard. Those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you on the next one.